wants to be with you. He wants to see you. He wants to see you again in heaven where you came from. He wants you to be with him. So, on that note, we're back into Joseph, and we're at a great part here. We're at the pinnacle of this story. I've been waiting a long time to talk about this. A long time in certain ways. And so I found this kind of a cartoonish kind of guy. You can see his glasses underneath his nose. And the title of the sermon is, It's Right Under Your Nose. Now, it seems a little goofy, right? But here's the thing. Have you ever prayed and have been crying out to God and God was saying it's right there in front of you? The answer is right there in front of you. You're like, wait a minute. Like, I need this. And he's like, I've already given it to you. I need that. I've already given it to you. I need people too. I've already given it to you. I already have supplied all your needs. All you gotta do is open your eyes. So like if you looked around the room and all of a sudden you saw this lamp and you thought, well, that's no big deal. But what if that lamp was all of a sudden worth $1 million? Wow. And we got it from Walmart. And we think, it's not worth that. But somebody high up in the food chain in the world says, look, there's a shortage on these torch lamps. And if you have one specifically with this design, we're willing to pay you $1 million. And you're praying and you're saying, Lord, wow, this ministry's got to go forward and we need the resource and everything. And week after week, you don't know that it's right here. So we got $2 million sitting here. Not really, right? But what if it was? Yeah. Now here's a real life thing. Collectibles. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in the sermon, but there's a lot of things that people think that are like no big deal, and they're worth a lot of money. Now this isn't a money message, okay? But what I'm saying though is that when we're praying and we're asking God for help, sometimes it's right there in front of us and we don't even see it. Twice I heard over the weekend the story of the road to Emmaus, where it said that their eyes were opened, and when the disciples, realized that it was Jesus, he opened their mind to the scriptures. That's two supernatural things that he did there. Open their mind and open their eyes. Now, that didn't mean they were walking around like this. It meant their spiritual eyes. To say, aha, yeah, he's been talking about this. It's been talked about for thousands of years, and boom, here it is. Right? Yeah. So, let this sermon be an encouragement to everyone. This is the big rah-rah one, okay? That God can supply all your needs and will, and he can do it any way he wants, and it can be right under your nose. Amen. You think, where is that going to come from? How many times have we said that one, right? Well, where is that going to come from? Money doesn't grow from trees.
We always heard that.
Right? It's a common saying. Yeah. It just doesn't fall out of the sky. Okay. But it can come anywhere at any time and anyhow. So be encouraged. And just think, this guy could have been looking for his glasses and it was running through his nose. Let's go to the next slide, honey. So have you been praying for a job? Maybe it's somebody you know, and they're looking for people, but they don't know that you need one, and you just start talking one day. That actually happened to me a few years back with the Chamber of Commerce. And I was on the board, and one day they were talking about some things, and I just felt the Holy Spirit saying, ask. And I'm like, no. He's like, ask. And I said, hey, you got this problem. I think I could be your solution. I need a little help. And they said, it's not a bad idea. It was a part-time job, but it was something. And boom, I was hired. And it was only a 6-month stint, but it got me by for that time. And here it was, right in front of me. Opportunity, right? A new spouse. Now, for those who are married, I'm advocating anything here, okay? But if you're not, and you're saying, hey, and then this really happened too. Now I have to keep the names private because who knows, they may watch. But in our former church, we used to have a cancer support group, and one of the gentlemen that was in our church had a wife that was dying of cancer. I was actually there at her deathbed when she passed, and he got friendly with another lady who was going through it. She had already lost her spouse, and they had really grown a friendship together. Not looking for anything, obviously. They're dealing with the situation. She passes. Within a few months, I see these guys holding hands in church, and I'm like, "What's that all about?" It turns out they got together through this whole thing, and that doesn't mean that their loved one meant anything less. But he was going to be lonely. He was younger, and she had already been without, and the next thing you know, they got married, and I did their wedding. It's pretty wild. And now they live, I think it's in South Carolina, North Carolina, somewhere in there. You don't know. A new income stream. Maybe there's an opportunity that something happens where you know something, and all of a sudden you have an opportunity to start helping people and maybe make a little money at it. But you're praying, you're saying, hey, I need this, and all of a sudden it's there. I've been praying about that. A certain material item you can't afford but really want. This is a true story. There's a gentleman I follow who is an entrepreneur. He has an entrepreneur channel. And he was saying how he was an Iranian immigrant into Germany. And they were at the swimming pool that was there for the migrants. And he wanted this game thing, but he knew that his parents were completely poor. They had nothing. But he really wanted this little Game Boy thing, right? Mm-hmm. He's 10 years old. He sees that there's alcohol being distributed to all these people, and they're drinking beer, and they put their bottles down, and the owner has to pick up all the trash. So what does he do? He says, look, how much would you give me per bottle if I pick up all these bottles for you? Mm-hmm. And he told him a price. And he says, I'll do it. And over a period of a month, he raised enough money. It solved the problem for the owner. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, it also got him talking to people and getting him extra money. And by the way, as he was doing it, the people that were drinking were giving him extra tips. Wow, so what I'm saying is he was seeking and praying about it. Now, I'm not saying alcohol is in the equation here. I'm saying that's how he had it happen. He took a situation and made it better. And then he got blessed for it. Mm-hmm. Okay? It could be right under your nose, right?
Yeah.
Better health. Whoa, go back. Better health. It's right in front of you. Make changes. Whatever way you got to do it. Next month will be my 1 year. 1 year I decided to make a change. 1 year. And I rarely follow things through with health all the way that long. And literally it's been easy. There's times it's been difficult, but most of it's been easy. 1 year. I made a change instead of had enough. And that was that. Mm-hmm. And this is just the beginning. There's a lot more to come. So you can make better choices for your health. You're praying, God, help me. And you're saying, well, stop eating the potato chips. Yeah. That's a no-brainer. I know they come from a potato, but fill in the blank, right? All right. It could be right under your nose. So we're going to go to the problem, which is Genesis chapter 41. We're going to look at this crescendo now. Joseph, this teenager, he has this vision. And years later, 13 years it took to get to this point. 13 years. Wow, it's been 13 since our time of start of our trial, honey. This is the year, baby. 13. 13 years. The problem. Genesis chapter 41. This teenager is finally brought out of the jail. And he's told to shave and clean up and get ready to meet Pharaoh. And he does. And here's his defining moment. He has been persecuted for years about this crazy vision. Have any of you been persecuted over a crazy vision? I know I have. And if you have a crazy vision, you're going to. People are going to tell you you can't do it, you won't do it, you'll never make it, you don't have the means to do it, whatever. And the bottom line is, if God gave it to you, ain't nothing, even a freight train, going to stop that.
That's right.
It's going to continue. It's going to happen until it comes to full fruition. So here we go. We're looking at verses 15 and 16. And Pharaoh is now, he's the big guy in front of, in front of Egypt. And here comes little Joseph, the Hebrew dude. And there they are having a conversation. Now, Pharaoh is believed to be God in the flesh. Like, he was not just a government official. He was believed to be deity. And here comes Joseph. So, Pharaoh's got this problem. And Joseph is brought along to be the solution. So here we go. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. So he's got all these magicians and all these people that do this magical stuff, but they can't handle it. And by the way, there's other times in the Bible this happens. Daniel, I'm thinking about. 16, he says, I cannot do it. Joseph replied to Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. He's giving kudos to God and saying it's him, not me. The true God is going to do this. Okay? So we go to the next slide. And basically, the next paragraph basically reiterates the dreams. Okay, so I'm not going to get into that because it's like the cows and all this stuff. You can read it. We've already read it last week. So we go to the next slide. And here's the explanation. Pharaoh tells him the dream, and Joseph says, in verse 28, it is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered, because the famine that will follow will be so severe. Man, I can think of where we're at right now. I remember a time that was much more prosperous in many ways. And if you lived in the 80s especially, that was a pretty good time. And some people in the 90s, actually, like the middle 90s. Some of the 2000s, not a lot. 2019 was a really good year. But here we are, in the middle of a famine. The abundance in the land will not be remembered because the famine that follows will be so severe. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in two forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. Sometimes God will say it and he'll put a punctuation mark on it saying, what did I say? I said it. Don't question me. I told you this. This is going to happen. I said this. I've said it over and over again. It's going to happen. It doesn't happen many times on our time frame. And this really aggravates me when I'm talking to God. And he knows this because he plays little games with me, because he's supposed to work on my schedule. I know I'm the only one, right? He's supposed to work on the Steve timeline. The Steve timeline has it all mapped out. And then God says, boop, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it in the least likely way that you think, and I'm just going to turn this around like this. See, he can do it with any of our lives. Just to show you that he's God. If you think for 1 minute that what you see on the governmental realm is just everything is just going to follow, is just going to go exactly that way, God can step in at any given moment and say, gotcha. And the news people will flip out because they'll have no idea what to say. 1 minute you're poor, and the next minute you're living high. In 1 moment, God changes your account. In 1 moment, a vision all of a sudden comes true. In 1 moment, a snap of a finger, a stretch of a pinky, and your life is radically changed. And by the way, it can go the other way too. And as we talk about this more, you'll see how that happened. But the bottom line is, when God speaks it, it's a done deal. And unless we stand in the way and say we're not going to do this, it's going to come to pass. I love how it says, be firmly decided by God, And God will do it soon. It's like a break there.